Good morning, students. Class 10th. We have done chapter number 3 and 4. So in some of the classes, chapter 1 and 2 is not being done. So I'm starting with the first chapter, the First War of Independence, 1857, also known as the Revolt of 1857. So this was the first War of Independence, the name it is given, because first time Indians, they joined together in order to fight with the Britishers. And though this revolt was not so successful, but still it paved the way of nationalism and created a feeling of nationalism among the people. Now, what was the various causes which led to the First War of Independence? So, causes we are going to study under different heads. The first head, it is a political causes. Second, it is a socio-religious causes. Third, it is economic causes. And fourth, it is military causes. So these are the four different heads under which we are going to study the various points. Now the first one, it is the political cause. Under political cause, the first point, it is a policy of expansion. Now policy of expansion, it means that in order to expand their territories, they opted the various methods. Now what was the various four methods opted by them were subsidiary alliances, then doctrine of lapse, then outright wars, and then on the pretext of allied misrule. So one by one I will explain you. Now the first one, by outright wars. So to expand their territories, they had a great wars with the others, like the Battle of Buxar was there, then Anglo-Mysore War was there, then there was a third Anglo-Maratha wars also, then second Anglo-Sikh wars. And by having these different wars with the different kingdoms, they were able to annex these areas and they expanded the British Empire over there. Now the second method by which they expanded was the subsidiary alliances. So under subsidiary, it was introduced by Lord Wesley, and according to this alliance, it was a kind of a treaty or an agreement under which certain terms they were mentioned. Now what was these terms? The first one, it is accepted the British as the supreme power. Whoever will sign on the subsidiary alliances, they will accept the Britishers as their supreme power. They will surrender their foreign relations to the East India Company, and they will not enter into any kind of treaty with any other without the permission of the East India Company. Third, accepted a British residence at their headquarters. They will employ one European in their court. And then fourth point, agree to maintain British troop at their own cost. They will keep a troop, they will keep the army in their kingdom, and whatever the facilities or whatever the living will be given to those British army, that will be borne by those regions, they will be borne by those kingdoms. And the last point, virtually lost their independence automatically when they will sign on these subsidiary alliances and they will agree upon the following points. So they will lose their independence. On the namesake only, they will remain the king or the rulers, but all the decisions they will be taken by the British Empire. So this was the subsidiary alliances. Many of the kingdoms, many of the rulers, they signed the subsidiary alliances. Now the third one, it is a doctrine of lapse. Doctrine of lapse, it was passed by Lord Dalhousie, and we have read about these in class 8 also. So again, in order to remember you, according to the doctrine of lapse, heirs adopted without the consent of the company could inherit only the private property of the ruler and not his territory. Or in a simple words, it is that any kingdom, any ruler any king who is not having his own natural heir or own son, their kingdom will automatically merge into British Empire after the death of the king. But if that king has opted any of the son or any son or any opted higher will not be given the property of the kingdom. He will be considered as the adopted son only. So many states, they became the victim of the doctrine of lapse, because these states, they were not these kingdoms, they were not having their natural higher. Like Satara was there, Jaipur was there, Sambalpur was there, Udaipur was there, Nagpur was there. Just go through it, you will be more clear about that. And due to these reasons, out of these kingdom, Jhansi was also the prominent region or kingdom which came under doctrine of lapse, because Gangadhar, the king of Jhansi, was not having his own heir, but they have opted a son. So this was the doctrine of lapse. Now the next point, it is by using the on the pretext of allied misrule or misgovernance, British Lord Dalhousie, he annexed Awadh, and he asked the Awadh king, that Nawab of Awadh, that if he will merge his Awadh in a British Empire, he and his people will be given full freedom and full benefits will be given to them. So the Nawab of Awadh, he agreed upon their promises. But later on, when he merged Awadh into the British Empire, no such promises they were kept by Lord Dalhousie. People, they had to face more hardships, they have to pay higher land revenues, and they have to give additional taxes on food, houses, ferries, and justice. And the dissolution of the Nawab of Awadh army, also administration, thousands of the nobles, they were thrown out from their position, and these soldiers, they became jobless, and with the jobless, their financial position also declined. So this was the you can say that misgovernance, or on the pretext of allied misrule. Now next major point, these were this point was under the political cause and under the policy of expansion. Now the another cause, it is a disrespect shown to Bahadur Shah. Now Bahadur Shah Jafar, he was a last Mughal empire, everybody you know, and he was given a pension from the Britishers. Later Lord Dalhousie, he announced that successors of Bahadur Shah Jafar, they will not live in the Red Fort, they will live somewhere else, and Bahadur Shah Jafar, his successors, they will not be given any kind of titles or any other name, they will just remain the prince. So this decision which was taken by the Britishers, they were not liked by the Muslim, and his wife Jeenat Mahal, he started plotting against the Britishers. So disrespect shown to the Bahadur Shah disrespected the Muslims towards the Britishers. Now next point, it is a treatment given to Nana Sahib and Rani Lakshmi Bai. Nana Sahib, he was the adopted son of Baji Rao II. He was the last Peshwa, and the British refused to grant Nana Sahib the pension after the death of the Baji Rao, which they were giving to Baji Rao II. The reason behind, because Nana Sahib was the adopted son of Baji Rao II. Similarly, Rani Lakshmi Bai, who became the victim of the doctrine of lapse, because she was not having his own son, so she has opted the son, and according to the doctrine of lapse, the opted son will not be given the throne after the death of his father. Now next, it is a absent sovereignty of the Britishers. Absent sovereignty means that India was being ruled by the British government from England, 1,000 miles away. And these people, they were interested in the profit which they were earning from the India, which they were earning on the Indian land, but they least bother in order to solve the problems of the Indians, to solve the status of the people of the Indians. So they were getting money from here, but that money they were using for their own purposes rather than for any other purposes. So they were not at all related to the growth of the Indian economy.